Are you feeling that? Are
It's
you
been
just sen are
intense.
you
I
just
have
sense
very different responses and I guess downloads than other people do. I don't know,
Yeah.
subtler.
Well, I mean, I know like I'm not complaining at all. Like it's been,
Right.
let's see,
It's
hang on.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's wild, is what it is. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Here, let me double check. God.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
said it told me it was streaming.
Yeah. I just want to go in and I swear to God, in the last week, I have probably gotten, and I'm not kidding, probably around, I don't know, 150, 200 messages and emails. Like, so I
Yeah.
don't know what's happened. I can feel, it's blowing up.
Well,
You know,
everyone's hungry. Everyone's so starving for information, for
yeah.
relief, for comfort.
Okay.
Nobody knows what's happening because it's energetic. And it looks like it's an absolute nightmare, disaster, dumpster fire. And it's actually just, it's all serving our highest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and I was, the first half of the month, in the last half of last month, I mean, I loaded the shows up. We were doing probably 12, maybe 15 some weeks. And then this period happened about a week ago. And I had to move. Yeah, okay. So I had to move a week ago tomorrow.
Right.
And so just all this stuff started happening. And it's been about a week. And so, I'm watching everything. And the few shows that I've done have been very high level, like your show, right? Like they've just been really, touching base on, whatever we were talking about, but a lot of it pointing to what's happening right now. So you have, I had my friend Ty, my brother Ty on, that I make music with, but he's also the most in-depth astrologer I've ever met. And so he brought in that angle. Alicia Brachet from Australia, she brought in the galactic angle. She's now coming on every 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Liara Covert on the Ghost series always has good intel. We have good conversations, but and there was a couple more in there. But so you have like the kind of like these certain things on the table. One of them, or many things, really, it seems like to me, uh, it, that the cycle of cycles are all coming to a convergence at one time. So, if I look at the surface of it, you got this three-eye atlas thing. And it's interesting watching all the different people's take on that because, obviously we're picking up the energy and the code, constantly from the feeds, social media and such. So it's been interesting watching people that are tapping into it. I've seen five, six, 10 different narratives, different psychics, different mediums. And so you look at that, and with the astrological movements, which Ty would have to fill you in on, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there. I'm not very well versed in astrology at all, and so I'm watching all that build up. Uh, into the Kali Yuga, other things, my friend Franco Di Nicola, who I did 52 shows with, who transitioned on this day 4 years ago, you know,
Wow.
Oh,
and
wow.
he is the most uh, uh, tapped in person by far that I've ever met. And anyone that knows him and watches shows would know that. But I also knew him on a personal level, and a lot of things that he never talked about publicly, he talked about with me. So
Hmm.
we're talking a
Whole
guy
other
that,
level.
yeah, I mean, he has full memory of other planetary lives, full memory of when he was in the womb with his twin who didn't make it to birth. These beings coming back into his life as other people or their souls in other people. Visits from the Men in Black for many years. Was a high school genius, inventor. At 17, 18 years old, had the Department of Defense contract to build water-powered helicopters. I mean, and there's a lot of stuff I could get into, but my whole point is he spoke of this time. He spoke of this time, specifically the latter part of 25 and going into 26. So I'm feeling all of this, and I'm about to make a move, and my soul says, stay right where you're at. Don't go anywhere right now. You need to stay put,
Yeah.
you know? And so it's been kind of a, not traumatizing, but, you know, my parents are, you know, they're older. My dad's 89 and my mom's 86, and she had a bad fall about 2 weeks ago. And so anyway, you know, I have that kind of that pressure of like, you know, you need to go, you know, tend to your mom and you need to go do this or that or whatever. And my soul just said, no, you just need to sit still. And so I found a place where I'm at, and just moved what little stuff I have to this little studio, and just start working, you know. But the downloads have been incredible. The dreams have been incredible. The interactions and messages I've had from a few people have been like weaving with whatever I've had. I'm seeing more of that. But I'm not going through like the only thing that happened to me, which was, I want to say it was, I moved on the 15th. I want to say it was either the 16th or the 17th. You know, I had a history of seizures since I was 15 years old to the age of 50. And I had about 150 or 200 seizures in that time. Now, I didn't have you know, I wasn't tapped in because by the time I had the last one was right when I reawoke. And so over the years, I've tapped into it and say, what the hell is going on with this, you know, the seizure thing? Because I know there was only 2 times that I remained conscious during these seizures, and they're basically out of body experiences. You know, my soul leaves my body. When I was 37.
Why did they start at 15? Did something happen?
Uh, well, you know, a lot of this I just found out. Basically, what happened at 15 was I started to, I would say I had a walk in. A bigger aspect of me came in. And I had the very first one I had was the worst one I've ever had. I'm not even going to talk about it, but it was a full blown. Uh, and then I came to find out that I had another one at 18. I had another one 18 years later, which was the first time I remained conscious during the episode, which was on an airplane. And I flew out of my body, and I ended up, you know, left my body. I'm standing in this open space, and there's a 12-foot angel starts talking to me and says, this is your exit point. And I said, well, you know, okay, you know, this feels great. It's all warm and fuzzy here, peace and love. And then she said to me, but you're going to go back. You're going to go back because, and she started naming these people that would become my second wife, would become my 3 more kids, and a few other things. And some of this I just came into. So anyway, they showed me again that it happened again a few years ago, but the seizure stopped at 50, and I never had another one until about 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, I had a short one, and it was only the second time I remained conscious. And I flew out of my body, and I had this whole experience, and I'm going to go into it all, but until last week. Now, what happened was I was walking down the street, and I was actually about to have something to eat, and I could feel it coming on. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have a seizure. So I got up, walked out, started walking home, and I couldn't make it. And I was totally sober. The only thing was I hadn't eaten anything, but this was not a physical
Yeah,
circumstance or consequence of anything like
spiritual.
that, right? So I was just walking, and I could feel it coming on, because you know how it feels, you know, if you had this many. So I lay on the ground, the sidewalk, and scraped my knees up pretty good. And I laid there and waited for it to come in. And it didn't come in. It wouldn't come in, right? And so I got my strength. I got up again. I walked across the street. I walked about half a block, and boom, I had to lay down again. Now, this time, I'm laying flat on the sidewalk. My arms are wide out. It's the middle of the night in Mexico. Not the middle of the night, but it's probably like 8:30 or 9. Quite, it's a quiet neighborhood.
Sure.
So I'm laying there literally defenseless, literally in total surrender. And all this memory and code is coming back from these seizures. It was almost like I was uploading everything. Like all the seizures involved transformation, psychic surgery, all different things. And so as I'm laying on the sidewalk, I can feel something different happening that's never happened before. First of all, I didn't lose consciousness. And when I say I didn't lose consciousness in those two of those occasions, my body did. In other words, my human, if you were looking at me, was in a seizure. But in those two instances, I was conscious the whole time, right? Without a body. Now, this time I'm laying there and I start to, it felt like it was in reverse. It felt like I was uploading all of these seizures into one, or something was happening. It was like a pinnacle moment.
Right.
So what ends up happening is whenever you come out of a seizure, or at least for me, you start to sweat profusely, and it feels fantastic. Now, you don't know where you're at. You don't know who's talking to you. You don't know your name for a minute, but the feeling is like you're reborn. It's like being birthed. You get, I don't know if you've ever broke a fever and really started sweating, then you start getting cool and like, oh, wow,
Like
this is,
purifying.
yeah. So this is happening to me. But as it starts to happen, the reason it starts to happen is because I'm laying there and I basically surrendered in a way I've never surrendered before, which was you're letting go of all of this. You're letting go of Todd. You're letting go of worrying about somebody coming up on you and taking your wallet or hitting you or attacking you
Yeah.
or finding you, or you're not worried about if you urinate and you have a seizure and somebody finds you and you're embarrassed. You're not worried about any, you're not worried about where you're living. You're not worried about time. You're not worried about space. So I'm going through all this stuff. And then my body just starts sweating, like just drenching. And then that feeling came over of being birthed again, that feeling coming out of the seizure. And I just, gently got up, walked home, and then sat with it for like 3 or 4 hours. Like, what the hell was this? But I feel like it's all related.
Right.
I
Oh,
feel,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like this, all the narratives about Three Eye Atlas. I mean, when you get down to it, it's all metaphoric. It's all energy. Something's coming into our consciousness, and that's what I see it. It's representing something unknown coming into our consciousness or marking the moment or something like that. So you start thinking simulation, you start thinking this, you start thinking that. And ultimately, where it's ended up for me has been that the creator is, well, how would we put this? Either it's the you, me, we, and it. That is it. That is Tom. That is God. Okay. Or both. That has created this realm, you might say. And the object, I guess, this is what I came to, was that the creator is not going to give us the cheat code, so to speak, or do it for us. I guess you could put it that way. That it's designed not to get out, so I'm not talking in those terms like get out of the matrix, but there is an aspect of that. In other words,
Yeah.
to overcome it all in form. And so this episode that I had a week ago had all the characteristics of a seizure, except for it didn't have the seizure. So it was like I was able to walk through the experience for the first time in the 200 episodes and not lose my human physical consciousness.
Yeah.
It was wild. And so that's
When the
what I,
150 times before, you didn't have memory, you
no,
didn't have
if you
yeah.
saw me, yeah, I
Things
didn't
are
go.
changing.
Yeah, I didn't go into this, but it was, there was something about the message of it, because a lot of the stuff that's been coming in recently has been less words and more feeling.
Yep.
But I realized at the time that my body, that's what my body was doing. And another thing that was kind of explained to me was every time I would have these seizures, it's kind of funny actually, my human was going, get me the F out of here.
Right.
But my soul was ramming light into me. So it required like this electric emittance of, of my, I guess the old to bring in the new or something like that.
Right, right.
But that, the final proposition or the final part of it has been that you can do this in form that, what we call the body or the container is actually the soul. It's just a, uniform or it's
Yeah.
our
Light
attire.
space vehicle, as
Yeah,
Gareth calls it. Yeah.
and so we've reached a point where our level of consciousness, we've reached a point where we can take over the wheel. And, that means not just, we spend so much time
Yeah.
talking about manifesting this or manifesting that, what makes you happy and this and that, but it's a done deal. And not
Yeah.
only that, we can um, in real time transform our body at a cellular level, blah, 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 everything that goes with it, right? Everything. So, yeah, so I didn't know y'all were gonna come on today, but there's no mistakes. And you caught me off guard in my underwear, just sitting around, just like in this daze going, okay, don't think about it. Don't think about it. And then it comes in and comes in, then okay, I'll sit with that. And then so
That's
the
a heck of
timing's
a week.
perfect. The timing's perfect. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm anxious to see how y'all do today. I'm enjoying watching. I'm mostly watching on the replays because I've been doing a lot of work, editing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay, I'll sit
so
with
thank
that.
you for letting me
So the
share that.
timing.
And
Yeah.
I'll let
No.
you I'll let you
Anne
guys.
loved it. She said that's wild.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Believe me, just retelling it. Like I haven't done that. Like
Yeah.
just me retelling it, I started going like this.
Yeah, I can
I'm
tell.
sweating. Yeah, you can hear it in my, but it's not a bad thing.
Sure.
It's really not a bad thing. I'm not having, and I haven't for quite some time. Like the dark memories come up, or a trauma thing comes up, or something that happened that altered you in childhood. All that stuff has been gone a while, but this feels like a liberation is what it feels like. It feels like liberation. And the one other thing that's really interesting that happened is I found myself like standing in the center, and I'm looking at what we call the 3D. And I'm just looking at, people talk about as an observer.
Yep. He froze. Did he freeze for you, Gareth?
He's frozen, yeah.
I wonder if
Is it back?
Oh, there
Is it?
you're back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It just messed up for a second. But no, so I was looking at one side, being the observer, looking at 3D. Well, that's nothing new. The only thing that was weird is I looked to the other side, like the 5D plus, in the Earth form, and I was observing that. And I'm going, wait a minute, hang on a second. This isn't flipping back one to the other. I'm
I'd
looking at this and I'm looking at that. And the only place that I don't know what it's like is that way. So
be
I'm
running
going,
that way.
I'm going that way. But that was different for me. I never had that experience before. Maybe that was a 0 point experience or something. But
Wow.
yeah, so a lot of stuff going on. I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say
Yeah.
today.
Gareth only
And
has an hour, so it'll be
okay,
a short one.
you
So
guys, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Gareth the host, and I will see you guys later. Thank you for letting me share. Thank you
oh,
for
thanks for sharing.
showing up and doing this collaboration. It's badass. All right.
Thanks for helping us, man. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Gareth. Um, so
Hi,
Lindsay,
everyone.
hi everybody. Um, Lindsay has been asking me questions all week since last week, and I don't know if she's on the call right now, but why don't I start with them? This is a big one that came up, and Anne actually asked the question last week, so there was a bit of an answer. But then there was more discussion about it, and they wanted you to just elaborate on the phrase your motivation is your protection in all things.
Mhm,
And because there was the question of, well, what about those with impure motivation?
mhm, mm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the whole point of that sentence is your motivation is your protection in all things, everything. So it's saying, firstly, on one hand, it's not in what you do, but in who's the one doing it. He said to me, what is important is to act. So where you act from is very important in the creative process. Putting things into physical form is part of the creative process, and that's what action does. So looking at your motivation of who you're being in any one moment, like where you're really coming from, because problem, reaction, solution. The whole false narrative works on reactionaryism, which are really just thoughts masquerading as feelings. So being able to stand back and look at where you're acting from, having that new element in how you're relating to what you're experiencing, that you're not just reacting and thinking the same old thing. You've got a part of you looking back, watching the reaction, trying to decode it, put names to it, so that you can get a handle on where you're really coming from. But also, it's what your motivation is, your protection in all things, helps you with satsang. Satsang is why satsang is so important because it divides the self into two possibilities: the true self in service to the truth of who you are, and the false self in service to an idea about what things should be based on fear. So once you get clear that there's only two motivations possible, the ego that controls and the ego in service to self, it's sacred form. The sacred version is discernment, objectivity, the ability to sit above a situation and see it clearly from every angle. The the inverted version is right in the
Yeah,
lost in it. There's an agenda involved. You've got to be someone and get somewhere. If you're afraid that you're not right as you are, obviously you need, in order to belong, you feel like you've got to play the game. That's the ego that controls. So you get further out of yourself. And that creates problems for the reactionaryism part. You're holding all this energy down. So it's going to come out sideways in behavioral patterns, addictions, all sort of conditioning, reactionaryism, where you before you know it, your attention's off into a story justifying the action. You're never really ever critical of it. Well, is that true? And where am I coming from? So that's what's playing out now. People's ability to not look at that is running out of road fast.
yeah. Yeah, no, that helps. So those with impure motivations are simply
If you want
running
to know
off the false self.
yeah, but what changes it is the willingness to look at it and own it. It won't change your ability straight away. So it's going to look like you're still doing the same old thing. And that's a really important phase. Shame is a big problem. So the
Shame
fact
is
that
a
you want to
big
stand back and
problem.
look at it so that you can see it for what it is, it's not going to happen overnight. So you keep pulling your attention back. So your motivation now is your protection in all things. What you're doing, because you want to know the truth and you're willing to let go of whatever's in the way. Because what the fuck is the point otherwise of life? You're willing to do that. You're willing to see it. You just can't yet. That's a whole other ballgame from just blindly acting without any feeling of the consequences. Now you do have a feeling of the consequences. You just got to get clear on what it is you see when you look at that space that you've never looked at before, because we've never done that since we were kids. But the
No,
space, the assumptions that we put in that space, we've been looking at since we were kids. That's all we know. So of course, it's going to take a while to de-energize the patterns and the reactionaryism and the behaviors and the feeling of what you get from situations you're in that you don't want, etc. It's going to take a while for that energy to dissipate and come back into balance, and you're not going to see the answers you want for a while.
No,
but you will. And that's once your point of view changes, it goes with you everywhere.
right. Absolutely. You can't unsee what you felt or what you've been looking at. When you ask for the truth, it opens
Hmm.
up everything. It
Yeah.
opens up everything.
That's
Everything.
that's the motivation, is the willingness to let go of the lie. And that's why Ramana said the only way to know fear isn't real is to let it come and get you. You can't let it go. All you can do is be willing to see it and it will let you go. We were never who we thought we were. No one else was ever who we thought we were, and nothing we've experienced was really exactly what we thought it was. As soon as
It's
you're
all
willing to let the dark,
inverted.
it's all inverted. So firstly, you're going to see the dark side of that you never wanted to look at before. But after a while, the darkness, which is an absence of light, disappears because you start directly experiencing the reality that it isn't that. It just takes time.
It
But
does.
once you directly experience the reality that wasn't what you thought it was, you don't need to put any energy at all into getting rid of what you thought it was.
Right.
It simply leaves because it never is. It's just like an assumption. I didn't think I would do a good job on my first downhill ski run, but I actually did. Now, the story that you're not capable of it can't exist. But what did you do? You acted. You acted from a different place. You didn't act from that fear.
You allowed for the flow of life. You allowed
That's,
life to show you instead of you informing life.
yeah, it's the only way to do it. And it's the
Yeah.
exact opposite of how we've been programmed. So
Yes, and the
it hurts.
programming is very heavy. So clawing our way out of this is really the way it feels. Clawing our way out of this.
Yeah, while it's fighting tooth and nail to stop that
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, so you have said often we are reversing the inversion. Like
Mm.
that's what's happening right now. However ugly or uncomfortable it is, it's serving our highest. Todd and I were talking about that before he let us go on. That
Janelle, hey?
so one of the what's that?
Janelle's here.
Oh,
Hi, Janelle.
I know, sweetheart. But the one question, like for 3 years I've been asking you, I want a time, I want a date. When is this over? This is awful. So so Lindsay's like, I know we shouldn't get hung up on time, but I'd love to hear him talk about the inversion and how far we are in the reversal process. And I
Mm.
understand that question. I've posed it to you so many times. And in fact, I was on a live call with people today where someone said, in 10 or 15, the speaker said, in 10 or 15 years, people are going to believe what I'm saying. And I wrote in the chat immediately, no, in under 3 years, people are going to believe what you're saying. And another person in the chat said, Kate, maybe the end of this year. And I'm like, you know what? I'm open for that. I hope. I wish that the more of us get on the train of expanded consciousness and awareness, the faster we can move this along, because this is all a creation of our collective consciousness. So that's a hard one for you to answer. You can't give a date, but how far do you think we are in the inversion? Reversing the inversion.
Well, yeah, we're reversing the inversion. Well, I think all three are true personally, because it's a process, and once you know that it's a process, that it's inevitable, and you will connect to that your own time. You can hear me say it all till the cows come home, but until you connect to it, it's not true yet. So,
Right.
but you'll have that feeling that it's inevitable, and once you see it play out, do you really need? That's what we've never seen before. We've never seen the for real process of those of the interference being removed and what's really there starting to be able to come out. We've never really experienced that before. But at the
Yeah.
series of events that's playing out, that's exactly what's happening. The physical stuff showing up.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be like the sum total of all of those events for everyone. Anything could flip you over that, where something in you that's never relaxed before does.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right, that's
everyone I'm talking to in all the communities, there's a shift happening. There's
big time.
yeah, big time.
Goes fast. Look at
Yeah,
it this way. What would happen? So firstly, every single problem facing the human race already has a solution. The only problem we've ever had is it's been edited out of our reality by this same group. So you get them out of the way.
yeah.
Well, how quickly do you reckon we could solve a lot of these problems? We have the
Oh,
expertise, we have all of the technology required, we have exactly what to do and how to do it and what to do it with. All of it's there,
yeah,
pretty much,
yeah.
And then add open contact with ET civilizations that know our entire history, you know, dimensions to it that we have no idea exist. And the implications of all that coming together, that can happen.
So
That would
I'm sorry I'm laughing. You said open contact. Thank you. Thank you for not saying first contact. You
Hey,
know I
I've learned
can't
the hard
handle
way.
that.
Yeah,
But
learned
that brings me to Lindsay's next question, which was so funny. She's like, "Oh my gosh, please tell me humans are not going to fuck up open contact." And
No,
I mean, basically for me to answer, I would say it's inevitable. It can't be messed up. It's just going
no.
to happen. Yeah, yeah.
That's why it's played out the way it has, so it won't be fucked up. But I mean, timing is everything. But again, it'll roll out. So the first wave of it going direct to the general public, let's say, is a top secret. Well, top secret. I hate using that word, but it'll be covert for a while. So there's a whole group that are ready for that, are about to be ready for that. So that will be brought in. They'll be connected to the white hat within the human race and the galactics who have been working together for a long time, a long time. In fact, throughout history, there's been a core group throughout history. So that top end of the pincer move that the Arcturians described as what's happened, those are the interference have been surrounded. The top pincer has always been there. But what's never happened before is having this bottom pincer, which is the average person, because that's where all the power is. What runs the matrix is our belief system.
Right.
So that's
We're
what's
just led to believe the opposite.
that's right. So the first wave group, it's a wave. So there's a leading edge of the wave, and there's a trailing edge of the wave, and there's everything in between. So the human race is at different points along that curve of ability to receive all of this, but everyone, it's inevitable. So as soon as that first wave connects directly with the Galactic Federation and what will become the human side of the Federation, that's a major big part of it. And then it'll roll out from there pretty fast. Because the ability for that to happen had to be timed for the root of those of the interference being pulled out enough so that the collapse of the mainstream narrative and replacement with the truth could be done in a controlled way quickly. So it's all timed because the perception of reality has been steered by those of the interference. So the white hats are going to use the same modus, the same MO to disconnect us from that. But it's got to be done in the right way, timing. So
Big
I'm looking
job.
about 18-month process. The next 18 months should be really something.
Really something. Yeah, it
It
feels like.
already, look what is already playing out.
So, yeah, so much is playing out. I mean, 99% of it I pay no attention to. And now I'm kind of on this social media fasting with this community I'm in, the way forward. So I'm not engaged anywhere near as maybe I could be.
Good to do though. Good to do, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It
You got
is.
to reflect sometimes.
What's that?
You got to stop and reflect, and the pace of that's a bit.
Well, it's been fantastic because like in the confines of the challenge, the coherence challenge is like you can have an hour of social media a day. And so I set it up on my phone in my settings to have an hour of social media a day. All the only social media I do is Instagram. I gave up Facebook years ago because it was slowly killing me. And so I put a timer on my Instagram app. So every time I look at my phone, I see it's after that hour. And I swear to God, I'm not on an hour a day anymore. But maybe is running in the background, so it's false. I'll stick with that story, thank you. But every time I look at it now, the app is kind of phased out. It's
Yeah.
phased out. So it's bringing awareness to me of how often I look to distract myself, or how often I'm looking for comfort, or how often I'm looking for something. So it's actually been the best thing in this challenge is bringing awareness to my addiction, my need for comfort in
Mm.
in Instagram world, which, you know, it's curated for me, but it's still no bueno. It's got lots of ads, and it shows you things and doesn't show you things based on whatever. Anyway, I
The
digress.
algorithm.
Back to the questions. Yeah, the algorithm.
Yeah.
If I never heard the word algorithm again in my life, I think I'd be okay. I think I'd be okay. Um,
Yes.
so so Lindsay asks, says, like, you mentioned Council of Nine. Did you mention the
Mhm.
Council of Nine? She
Well,
said,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she was curious about their role, and if you and about the fallen one, but I have a series of questions about that.
All right. Well, that's God, the name that God gave in the what who I spoke to. So the point we are in history and time is all contained within, and what's been going on is contained within the name that God chose to give at this point, which is Tom, spokesman for the Council of Nine. There have been lots of names for God, different eras, and three that he pointed out specifically that have been used before was the morning, the evening, and the mid-noon. And Harmakos and Tahuti or Teote, which is South American, Peru. So Harmakos is Greek and Teote is, I think, Peruvian. It's South American anyway. And then the morning, the evening, and the mid-noon. So the whole thing represents Atlantis. So everything in between, and that's Egypt. So there's a connection between all of that,
Yeah.
what happened in Atlantis, what was there before, how it got there, and what happened to it, and right now. So that's contained within the name. Tom, spokesman for the Council of Nine, is describing what's happening now and how they relate. So T balance Om. So Om being the core frequency of the universe, and this
Right.
T is a model of how that frequency, that single frequency that I saw when I was two, that everything comes from, how it creates the physical universe, the holographic projection. It's like a mathematical equation, basically. T is white
It's
light is the upright, and it fractalizes into all the colors like your
right.
glasses, and that's the upright. And
So
and the 0 point is in the center.
so much of this, and you explain it well, but so much of this isn't really for our human comprehension. It's
Well,
it's
it's not necessary to know
it's not
necessarily.
necessary
It's
to
just one
know,
of those
right?
things.
But one question that intrigued me was, like, about the fallen one. Did that happen during Atlantis?
Oh, that's the fallen one's been around since the universe existed.
Exactly. That's what I thought. Right.
It's a thought, it's a conceptual reality, but so is the entire universe. The whole physics of the physical universe, it's a holographic projection of the infinite field of potential for what could exist that's in that core frequency. 0 point. Someone asked Tom in the book, The Only Planet of Choice, where are you? And he said the zone of cold, which is in physics is absolute zero.
Right.
So there's the coldest you can get, all the laws of physics dissolve. Really, they all come from 0 point. That's what he meant by T, the T, Tom. It's what creates the physical universe. Everything has the same point of origin, which is 0 point. That's the fifth dimension, which is the center point of the T. So the nine dimensions, that's why he said spokesman for the Council of Nine, the nine dimensions that make the all it is. Because it's a repeating pattern after that, 9, 18, 27.
Mm.
It, it's what happens when you get combinations of those nine dimensions. You can infinitely complexize the universe. But those nine start with the fifth dimension is in the center, and then it goes out to the left, the four masculine principles, time, height, depth, and breadth. And then the four feminine principles, which are higher, refining the energy. So the two go together. So that's why it's a T, Tom. And that's why we're made in the image and likeness of God, because we have that within us too. White light, fifth dimension, soul, spirit, and then all the physicality, masculine and feminine, have to be in balance. And that's where the one that fell comes in. He keeps polarity in conflict instead of unity, so that now it becomes one dominating the other, and you're out of balance the whole time. And that's the pendulum swing of the control narrative. It keeps us in reactionaryism, polarized. So that's why reactionaryism right now is going to be dealt with by the exposure of the control narrative, because everything we believe won't be off limits to the question, well, if they lied about that, what else have they lied about? Being COVID. So everyone's belief system will stop being able to hide that question. You won't be able to do it anymore. That means reactionaryism has a whole new context around it.
Yeah.
Never been there before.
It was controlled and created, and
So what do
we'll
I
see
really
it.
exactly? So people will
Right.
be
What do I
thinking,
really feel?
what do I
Like,
really think? What do I really feel about dot dot dot?
right.
If
Like
this is all
in the 90s, I was protesting on Washington for gay rights and women's rights and black rights. And it's like, you
and
couldn't
fair
pay
enough,
me. Fair enough, right? Because it
but
came
there's a
from,
principle.
yeah, but it was, yeah, but like the problems were created. The problems
Exactly.
weren't really in existence. It was created through TV and media and
Yeah,
just everything. You couldn't pay me to protest now. You couldn't pay me.
exactly.
There's such a neutrality because I know we're being handled
Mm.
that I don't want to play in the matrix.
That soon as
If
that
you're
happens,
taking a side, if you're left, if you're anti-Trump and you're handled, you're
yeah.
handled. So,
Mhm.
yeah, fascinating. It's so
Being
fascinating.
able to feel all of that, like
Feel
you
it.
always have,
Right.
not really know what to do with it, but also having this, what Tom called adding a fifth element, this, which is basically spirituality. That's what happens when the mind is forced to question reality.
Right.
That is the spiritual path. What's the nature of reality? It's all one
It's
being
all one.
experiencing
The
itself.
whole one
It's all
being.
love.
Right, right. It's all love. Love is the
Mm.
only thing that's real.
Everything
So
else is an idea. And the one that fell, getting back to his, is just an idea about
it's an
self.
idea. Is it an energy? Is it a darkness?
Yep,
Like,
and it can manifest physically. The
but it's not
Nazarene is
it's like when we envision one who fell, we're like an awful clawed, like former angel of God fell.
it's
Like
not like
we're
that.
we're putting form to it, right?
Hmm.
Because that's what we've been
Yeah,
fed in the
the
Bible, in
capacity.
the churches. Right.
Yeah, that's right. The capacity of the one that fell to exist and be able to bring form uh, is it comes from the belief in that form within self-aware life throughout the universe, the level of it. Now, what's been happening and why the human race was created is this has been going on for so long that it's created an instability in the fundamental polarity that the universe is based on, which is the top of the T. You know, the dimensional expression, which is perfect unity between masculine and feminine, has this force has been coming the other way that's keeping it in opposition, and it's been getting too much of a presence. It's throwing off it's creating an undulation in the physical frequency of the universe, almost at that base level. And that's why the human race was created, to bring balance back to the force, literally like Star Wars, the force that creates the universe, to bring balance back by going all the way into 3D, almost completely losing our connection, spiritual connection, and everything above that, which leads us to God, higher and higher versions of self, all the way back to God. It's contained within those other four. That's the feminine. You can't put a box around the feminine. It's infinite. To these physicality, and time has been this problem for us. So that's all popping wide open now, and it's intense while it plays out, but that's we've chosen to come back to the truth of who we are, which is fully
Yeah.
five-dimensional, which means we can access the other four dimensions. It's in our field, completely in our field. That's coming back now.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You can feel it too. She goes on, she wants she has all these questions about the Nazarene. And
Sure.
I just want to say, for me at 51 years old to have suddenly not only believe in God, but love the Nazarene, love God with all my heart, just believe I am, and this all is, and like and then my mother, 81 years old, after a godless life, for lack of a better term, loving God. And then so like Lindsay asked, like, first, what's your insight on the Nazarene being brought into everyone's awareness right now? Why did the Nazarene come originally? To show us the way out of this darkness. And is that darkness just the energy from the one that fell? Is the Nazarene God in human form to show us the way? Um, so for me, this great awakening, this sweeping, energetic, expanded consciousness for me is just is just proof, really, proof of God,
Mm.
proof of the oneness of it. Like, this is all energy. I didn't ask for this to happen to me. I didn't ask for me to all of a sudden love God and want to talk about God all day long. It happened to me, and it's happening worldwide in droves.
Mhm.
That's the Nazarene. So what is your insight on the Nazarene being brought into everyone's awareness right now? And is he God, God in human form to show us the way?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit more to it than that, or it's slightly different to that, but yes, as well. Well, look, the Nazarene is like the spinal column of the whole reality in a way. It's the source of the whole plan. And Tom described the Nazarene as he had all of the good from us. So all of the light, which is the purest version of the ego in service to self. So he was the most, uh, how can the clearest, most pure physical expression of that in the universe. So originally he was the hawk. It was the first incarnation related to the human race in this planet. He called the hawk. That was the Nazarene, and Horus came out of that. There's a lot of after the fall. Tom God described what happened next is that he said there was a lot of fear in the world after that, and that's we fell. We went back to the Stone Age basically, and a lot of religion was set up that way, and those of the interference used religion as a controlled narrative for them. But there was also a lot of spirituality, so it got kind of distorted. So there was a lot that came out of that period of the Atlantean age and the reality of the Nazarene and God and um, that kind of got messed with a bit. But basically, Horus came from the hawk. So he oversaw the seeding of planet Earth and the creation of the human race. So he was the one with it's like the all-seeing eye, but the divine version of the all-seeing eye. But it's more powerful, way more powerful, because it's connected directly to God.
Yeah.
The most direct connection in the physical universe that the sense of I or self as separate can have with God. That's the Nazarene represents that connection. That's universal to all self-aware life, really, but a very potent, concentrated form. That was by contributing his DNA twice within the human race, he set up that physical spinal column as a genetic code that would go through a series of. It basically created a blueprint for the ability for a physical life to be lived at a certain level with the soul connection. So that capacity was built into the human body, the human capacity, because it's if that soul group is present within the human race as a collective consciousness, the frequency of it's available to everybody. So you don't need to be
Everybody.
born into that life to benefit from it like it's you.
Right.
However, that had to be there as a way to safeguard the reality of the human race through the inversion process, coming down to that 3D level. it made sure that like the twin flame soulmates that came out of the Nazarene telling the Magdalene and James, his brother, to have kids, that's like a homeopathic dose of the truth of who we are that wakes it up in the human race. So that was also what he did when he came as the Nazarene, sort of woke that up, if you like, that dormant energy by connecting his physical life. When he was born as the Nazarene, it was a different physicality to the hawk. And that was done deliberately because he was the closest thing in the physical that the Nazarene could to us in that density that he could take. But he wasn't able to have kids at that level here. So James, his brother, was the way around that problem. So James, like I said, had the same energy signature as the Nazarene, which connects to the hawk, which is embedded within the human race, which connects directly to the same frequency that the sun is putting through causing the planet to go through. And that's all coming to a head on the 30th of September when when Atlas basically gets to the exact opposite point behind the sun, right when the Earth gets to a solar maximum, right when the sun goes through a key point, all of them together, the chance mathematically of those three things all happening at the same time, and I'm talking the same minute, then
30th of September?
30th of October, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what
30th
I
of October.
thought. 30th of October.
So there's something going on. The mathematics involved in that takes 7.84 or whatever is gigahertz, which is the Schumann resonance of the planet, and a physical body resonates at the same frequency, up to 78. So the solar maximum takes what this ship that we call this comet is doing on the other side of the planet, exactly opposite us at key points mathematically, precisely at the same time, right when this solar burst goes boof.
I think that's what Todd was talking about a little bit. Ann and I were talking about it today. I watched Kelly Kolodny on Heart Coherence Collaborative talk about AI Atlas. Like the astrology, the once in not a lifetime, once an all time,
Yeah,
nothing like it.
and that's why, because it's connected to the Nazarene. So what happened when Atlantis was created? I mean, that was all created. The thousands of ET races and worlds donated DNA to the ground experiment, which was what created the human race and the planet. So that was all organized through the Galactic Federation, overseen by the Nazarene. So the ship 3AI Atlas represents that flagship in the Galactic Federation. It also was the Star of Bethlehem because the way they got around the Nazarene being able to be born at that frequency that matches what's coming is to artificially inseminate the paternal DNA, the masculine DNA, into his mum. But that's also why he couldn't have kids. And there was a whole lot that went to that. So it was a twofold plan. But the Star of Bethlehem was a ship. It's because DNA can be transferred in light. So it's connected to 3AI Atlas.
Wow.
So when you see, it's all been written about in the text. How do you describe a cell phone 2,000 years ago? Is a lot of the code in those ancient writings that go all the way back to what happened in Atlantis. It had to be that way because consciously we couldn't understand the concepts in their purest form. They had to be put into a code. You know, a Roman centurion or a Roman citizen isn't going to understand what a starship is. So that had to be put into a code. So this sort of second coming is linked to the second coming of Christ, the Nazarene. But take away religion. Remember that there was a lot of fear and it's been manipulated. God said to me, the time for religion is over, and that's why it's manipulative. It's been used for manipulation.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that the principles within it need to be thrown out.
Well, exactly. It's that whole don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly.
That's
the
whole thing. Yeah. In the chat, it's funny. Donna asks, "How do you guys know all of this?" And I mean, honestly, it's 50.
Great question.
57 years of you having otherworldly experiences, visitations, Arcturians walking side by side with you, those of the interference trying to kill you. I mean, it's a lifetime of experiences that
Mm.
is what you're able to talk about right now.
That-
So there's
There's,
really no other answer than how do you guys know all this? And I know all this
yeah.
because I got it through 3 years of osmosis. Like, like I might be an entire continent away, but I've got it from 3 years of listening to it. And then
Mm.
Lindsay
Well, talking,
asks, what's that?
discussion. Yeah, both of us talking.
So much
Yeah, it's a
talking.
lot out of me. I didn't know it was there.
So Lindsay asks, so Atlantis was the first humans
In this form, yeah.
in what?
Atlantis, there's a long, long history behind how Atlantis came about, though. Way, way. I mean, we all had this 12,500 years ago, 13,000 years ago, but I mean, the Sphinx, I'm told, was built around 58,000 years ago. And that was built for God. That was built for Tom.
Right,
So
right. And
Tom, spokesman for the Council of Nine, that name is encoded within the original Sphinx. How the
And
fuck did
you
that?
and you said the nose being cut off the Sphinx was very
By Napoleon.
intentional by
Very intense.
Napoleon. Right, right, right.
Because,
Napoleon was like the worst of the worst. It's like all of these key historical figures in our memory in our stupid textbooks
mm,
are those of the interference. Though the puppets, the
yeah,
excuse me.
the minions. If you know their face and
Yeah,
name, they're just minions.
the minions. And but some of them we think they're our heroes. They think they oh, it's so crazy. Oh, and
Mm.
so then Lindsay asks, who did they get the Old Testament from?
Well, a lot of that's, again, it came from the need. There was a group that was watching what was going on in the final phase of Atlantis that could see what was playing out. And there was a struggle between these two factions that was going on for quite a while before it got to the point that it got to. So, plan B was to preserve everything in the right way that it could survive what would be a deliberate attempt to. That's what Napoleon said. He shot the nose off the Sphinx. That symbolism is the end times death cult symbolism. It runs off symbolism. And that was a
Everything.
way that symbolized, you'll see it in a lot of ancient statues all the way back to so many civilizations where they would knock the nose off the leader that had just gone or the vanquished, whatever, as a symbol for erasing all knowledge of them throughout history, knowing. So the Sphinx, in that case, they knew what the Sphinx was all about, and they knew it was
Built
about
for
God. The
God.
whole motivation is to erase God, the knowing of God, our heart connection. That was the whole motivation behind what they've been doing. But then we were too strong. We're too powerful.
Yeah.
The way Tom said, they've never been able to break your human spirit, your human connection to the divine, your divine nature. And in the end, that's what's won. And three AI Atlas and all these events all coinciding. They're all what was written in these ancient texts, like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Particularly, there's a lot of other writing around that time that was put together through the Nazarenes' instructions that haven't been found yet, all the way through Qumran. There's lots of places around the world. Some of them have been hidden, but that was all known and encoded. So it came from a lot of different sources. So you can take them, the Vedas, there's stuff in Islam, there's stuff in Hinduism, Buddhism. The Buddha was Nazarene as well.
Oh, right, exactly. I always get tripped up on the hawk.
Yeah, well, that's the Nazarene's first incarnation relevant to the human race and this and how we
A
were put together.
literal bird, a
The
hawk.
hawk is a symbol for the ego in service to self, the sacred masculine, because it's the eagle is God's eye, the God, but the hawk it's like the next one. So
There's
it's the
there's
ability to fly above a situation, and the hawkeye, the massively precise vision, the ability to see everything clearly,
That's
strategic.
amazing. I
That's a
think I've told
symbol.
you my family's lifelong connection with hawks.
Yeah,
My
well, that's
experience
mm,
in Maine, at our house in Maine with a hawk, an entire summer and summers just wow.
No accident. No accident. Yeah. Same
Um,
here. That's why when I was taken up onto the ship by the Arcturians as a kid, I would see a hawk first. It was a connection between the hawk because that was done to preserve my conscious connection to my soul purpose while I was going through school. Yeah. I needed to
I
have
would have
enough.
loved a more conscious connection to all of this.
Well, I didn't know what was going on at the time.
Which is funny because you had experiences since like infancy.
Hmm.
I just feel like I lived for 51 years sound asleep. I just
But you
that's
had
one
those experiences. You've had that experience
I
before, but
had
you've had.
well, yeah, my friend Lori, he told me once that I had to live in such, I don't know, naivete or bought so into the matrix being real to be able to speak about this articulately once
Hmm.
I had the awakening. Like you had to
Exactly.
be that pure Katie to
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
be even more pure Katie to speak on that Katie. But
That's
I'm not articulating that at all. But right, it served a purpose in my particular awakening to have been sound asleep. I can say to anyone anywhere on the planet, if I can wake up, anyone can wake up.
and that's the whole point, Katie, because what's never happened before is average people who've never really asked these sorts of questions before suddenly being put in a situation where they are. Who are they going to relate to? People who've gone through the same process and they're at a certain point where they can turn around and say, it's okay, and here's my hand, and basically
Yes,
just
and
share.
that's another thing I see happening with our friend Sam and Mike and Ann, like starting videos that used to bring us comfort and clarity and even information. Starting videos now, we can feel seconds in that they are no longer for us. That, and it's not that they're bad or wrong or anything. It's somewhere between like it's now a grassroots movement. Like it's got to come from us. The voice, the experience is coming from those on the ground,
Yeah.
walking through fire, feeling this hell, this not being able to kumbaya, rah, rah, ayahuasca your way out of this shit, not outsource it to anything or anyone else. And that's why nothing resonates with us. Nothing gives us comfort other than God and knowing there's a purpose even if we don't know it right now. But I just want to say one more thing. One of Lindsay's questions really interested me was what do you think, Gareth, about the Mandela effect? Are you familiar with
Yeah,
Mandela?
yeah. Well, yes, I am familiar with
It's
the
a
Mandela effect. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's a
that's
great question, and there are many examples of it in our world. Mandela, of course, being the namesake, but Fruit of the Loom and like Berenstain Bears and all of this, and people being able to prove it with BlackBerry phones, like vision, like seeing the original. Like, is that BlackBerry phone jumping timelines? Like, how do you see Mandela effect?
yeah. Well, I mean, basically, we're coming from a very physically dense perspective to a five-dimensional perspective. And the thing about 5D, like I said, that balance point of polarity, the center point of polarity, it's both and neither. So, um, sorry, I just got distracted. My wife just walked past the window, sign languaging me. And
That you gotta go. I know you
oh,
have
the
a
Mandela effect.
funeral.
Yeah. So, because we're moving through the fourth dimension is between the three physical, and the fourth dimension of time is between the three physical dimensions and this indescribable in the end dimension called the fifth spirit. It's
Yep.
you can't put a label on it, but all labels apply as well in a way. So the fourth dimension, in the fifth dimension, space and time are unified. There is no separation between anything. So when you know that and I mean, it was like me speaking with God when I did in 97. I was sitting in a chair in the room like I am now, and there were other people in the room, and I was in this whole other dimension completely separate from it. And I could move my attention between the two at will, but they were different.
Kind of
And
like what Todd was just talking about with his seizure a week ago,
yeah, well,
where
I'm
one
epileptic
way he
too.
was seeing 3D and one way he was seeing 5D.
That's what 5D happens when I have clear sight experiences that I couldn't control. That's what would happen. Space and time would, all the information about that moment, which includes all the ramifications and play out, like the field that emanates out of a single moment that you're in, suddenly become included in your awareness of it. So you can move your attention around in that field of information in a way.
So I'm could be listening better. What does that explain the Mandela effect?
Yeah,
Is it
because both
is it
things are
a,
true. The,
both things
the,
are
the field that emanates out of an event are all the consequences that are possible from that event. And then our consciousness interacts with that field and we create an experience through that.
okay?
So we're coming back to our power to be conscious of that process. So time and space are sort of throwing, because we're becoming aware that we have that power, or what it feels like to be in the fifth dimension. That's one of the ways it shows up. We'll swear we had this experience before, or there'll be this deja vu feeling around something, like, there's something familiar about it, or it'll be outright like, I swear last time I saw that woman, she was blonde and now she's brunette, or something,
Yeah.
similar. But
Yep.
you won't be able to quite put your finger on it either, or control it. But that's what clear sight was like, is like, and that's what talking to God was like. I mean, I was there all night the first time, but it felt like no time at all. It was like all time and nothing. The conversation itself seems very simple and just, I mean, everything that you can fit in an entire night talking to God. It's crazy. So I can access different parts of what was given to me when he spoke to me, and I was in his energy field. There's aspects to that I was given that I had no idea about at the time, but only show up later. And there's a whole relationship between how I've lived since then, what I've lived through, and what else I connect to, and also what he put in there deliberately to be timed at a certain point. Crazy how it works. And the what the Arcturians did by taking me up onto a ship, they put this visor over my eyes. They didn't let me see it at the time. They said to me it wouldn't have served me while I was a kid to see them physically, or to really have too much awareness of what this process was about, because it really only needed to be there in the subconscious anyway. And that would have got in the way, because you also needed to live an ordinary life. And this is too much way out there. So you need to get enough glimpses, so you've got the two and two to put together without being too focused on it.
Yeah.
But they would put this visor over my eyes, and it would be these visuals that I kind of like when I fell off the roof when I was 9. I had those 9 images. It was the universe, like everything, all at once in these 9 images. Too much to take in, similar to that. But all the information's there. So it's too much to take in right in that moment. But there's parts of it that will come into play down the track. And at the time, you don't know the significance of it. But fuck, I can guarantee every single one of you on this call, there'll become a time soon where you will. And the Arcturians showed me that a big turning point in the great coming together and the great falling apart, which is this paradigm shift of what's playing out, particularly over the next 18 months. The life review, they said at a certain point, you'll look back and see the perfection of everything you've experienced from the moment you were born to the moment you woke up to the full truth of who you were, which is peace with everything that is. That moment you're experiencing right now, when you do, everything that got you there is precisely everything you lived through. So it goes, they said gratitude dissolves pain. And that's what we want, isn't it? So by surrendering to this and letting it take everything that doesn't agree with that reality from you, you'll lose everything to it by letting it, what the space that it takes, the space that it leaves behind feels like it's, your mind's going to do what it's always done, black,
Yeah.
dark. But once that runs out of road, that's what happens. You wake up. Oof. And everything, the context is what changes. Everything that you've lived through becomes a part of that moment. of becoming free. So it like I
You
said,
see
once you
it.
get that viewpoint goes with you everywhere,
Yes,
including
it
drugs.
rewrites everything.
So that's
It
why the
rewrites
Mandela
all
effect,
your
like,
history. It rewrites your opinions. It and it feels like death. I mean,
it does
I know
at
it's the death
times.
of the false self. I get it.
Yeah,
But
but you got
oh
to
my
feel it like
gosh,
it's you.
it feels like
It
I'm
feels like it's
dying.
us. It's all we've ever known. Yeah. And that our mind interprets that because the ego that controls is based on self-preservation. So it wants to hold on to that interpretation because it keeps it in control at the
Oh,
expense of
I go around
the
doubting myself all day long. Like, what am
doubt
I
the doubt.
doing? Are these things I'm thinking crazy? Am I don't know. Did I make a mistake? Should I be talking to those people? Like all these, just a
And you know
million.
what? That voice isn't new. It's been there the whole time. The critic in the background. What's new is that you doubt the possibility, and you can hear me when I say doubt the doubt. You can hear that in a way you couldn't have heard 3 years ago
Couldn't
or
have heard
5.
3 years ago. No, and Lindsay has another question we'll save for the next call about the ego. She had been listening on the same day to the question about the ego. She had been listening to you and she had listened to Aaron Abke and she had some comparisons and things to
I
ask
have.
about the ego. And it
Mm.
was just really interesting. Like, do the stories come from the ego? Like, is that where they're
The
stored?
hawk, the
Like, and then she
Nazarene.
made a joke, stored stories. She's so silly.
Still. Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, the ego is the Nazarene in its purest form.
Well, she's in the chats now saying the shame is fucking killing me. And she's right. I mean, like I'm in constant shame and guilt for what I'm
Yeah.
not doing or what I've done or what
Yep.
anybody's feeling about. And it's like, oh, it's gripping
That's right. Yeah.
really
And it's
hard.
not,
I know.
and it feels like too much. And that's why Gangaji's saying she's in the lineage of Ramana Maharshi, sat saying true north, path of self-inquiry. So someone was sitting in a chair with her, they were having a conversation, and this woman used the phrase, "It's just too much for me." And Gangaji shot back straight away and said, "Too much for who?"
You say that to me. You've said that to me
That
every
question.
time for
Doubting the
years.
doubt is what that question looks like.
Yes, yes. And I'm always mad at you. I'm like, shut up, Gareth. You're like,
Believe
yeah,
me, I feel the
Katie,
same way. Don't
who
worry.
I know. Who wants to die? Who's feeling this way? Who's doubting? I'm like, I
Just the
know.
fact that you got that question, you can't pretend that it's not a real question, but you can't come up with an answer.
No. I can't will the answer. I can't
No.
do anything to bring the answer. The answer's coming to me. I know it. I just have to have patience and faith and
That's why
imagination.
hitting the wall is the only thing that works. You've run out of road and you know it. And when you come into that understanding, doubt the story,
No other
then
way.
you then your attention's got somewhere else to look at it's never looked at before. It takes a long time to discern it, but you will. You are.
Yep, yep. All right. I know you have to go to a funeral.
I do, yeah. My uncle passed away
I'm sorry.
last week. Yeah. He was 95
Yeah,
and he
nice
had
long life.
dementia. So I checked in actually the day after with the Arcturians and Tom just to get a feel for it. Like, how do I relate to him? Because he was autistic as well, so I was never close with him. He was high functioning,
Mhm.
but on the spectrum, so wasn't really very connecting emotionally sort of person. Whereas I was the exact opposite of that. So never really knew him that well. But anyway, I asked, and they said to me, they showed me an image of him being more present than he ever has in his life. They said he sees all of you now.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
what a great way of putting it. He sees all of you now, and I thought that's a great feeling. So I'm going there with that.
That's beautiful, Gareth, and that's exactly the way I feel about my father. Just or anyone that passes, they see all of you
All
now.
of us, because
Oh,
they're
and he
all,
loves you, and he loves you.
all the cousins, the whole family. He sees all of us in a way he never could before. He
Yep,
sees all of
yep.
us.
All right,
So
well, go. I love you.
Love you too. Love you, everyone. Thanks.
Love
Great,
everybody. We'll see you next
great
week.
questions. Keep them coming because it's easy to get distracted on this by
Yeah.
the scale of this
Yeah.
whole thing.
Anybody can message me any questions at all. Okay. Mwah. Love you.
Awesome. See
Bye.
you next week.
Yep.